Right, so let's start with the big story that we are tracking on WION at this hour. The IAEA, the United Nations nuclear watchdog, has now shared a pretty detailed update on Iran's nuclear sites and also the scale of damage that has been caused by the Israeli attacks in the course of the last 7 days. So here's a complete breakdown of the current status of Iran's nuclear sites, which are under attack by the Israelis. The first up, the IAEA director, Rafael Grossi, listed out the scale of the damage on the Natanz nuclear enrichment site. Now, Grossi said that the Israeli strikes on the 13th of June have destroyed the facility above ground, making it non-functional. The serious underground damage has also been observed. The IAEA has said that there is no external radiological impact. However, within the compound, there is radiological and chemical contamination. This is what the IAEA chief is saying. Now, Grossi has said that there is a lot of concern over chemical toxicity within the site. In the case of Fordo's enrichment site, which is buried deep underground, the Israeli missiles have not managed to make any dent on this nuclear facility. Now, the IAEA's latest update is that there is no impact on Iran's main uranium enrichment site. Now, in the case of Isfahan, which the Israeli forces had bombed on the 13th of June, the IAEA has said that about 4 buildings have sustained damage in the complex. This includes the Central Chemical Laboratory, the uranium conversion plant, the Tehran reactor fuel plant, and the enriched uranium processing facility. The UN nuclear watchdog has also noted that there is no increase in off-site radiation levels yet. Now, in the case of the Iraq nuclear plant or Khondob nuclear site, the IAEA has said that the Israelis have struck the compound on the 19th of June. However, given that the reactor at this site is not operational, there has been no impact and hence there is no radiological consequence as well. Now, one of the most important sites that the IAEA chief spoke about is Iran's Bushehr nuclear power plant. Now, Israel has not targeted Bushehr yet, but Grossi has warned that any damage to this site will trigger the release of very high levels of radioactivity into the environment. Now, Grossi has further warned that this could in fact impact an area of hundreds of kilometers. The IAEA chief has further said that any action against Tehran's nuclear research reactor could have very severe consequences, potentially for very large areas of the capital of Iran and also its inhabitants. He said, and I quote him here, "In such a case, protective actions need to be taken." All right, now joining us on the broadcast, we've got Dr. Charles Kupchan, who's a senior fellow at the Council of Foreign Relations. Dr. Kupchan, thank you very much indeed for joining us here in WION. Now, this is the assessment that's been put out by the IAEA chief, Rafael Grossi, where he has clearly listed out the level of damage that has been inflicted on Iran's nuclear sites, but has also given out a warning. He has said that any attack on the Bushehr nuclear power plant will result in a radioactive leak that could spread for hundreds of kilometers in the radius around Bushehr. In your assessment, considering that the Israelis have been attacking the Iranian nuclear sites, how would they view this assessment put out by the IAEA chief?
Well, I think what we're hearing about Natanz is consistent with the strike packages that have been delivered. The centrifuges that are spinning the uranium to enrich it are underground, but on top there are electrical plants and other supporting capabilities which have been taken out. And as far as we know, by hitting those, the underground facility has also been damaged. That's consistent with the report. Fordo is a very different question. It's much deeper underground. The Israelis do not have the large bunker buster bombs that can penetrate, and that seems to be confirmed by Mr. Grossi's report. As for Bushehr, we've seen at Chernobyl and other cases that when you have a major nuclear power plant melt down, there has very, very serious radiological consequences. In that respect, I don't think Israel is going to hit that nuclear reactor. We're now in a pause, if you will, with Trump trying to use 2 weeks for diplomatic coercion.
Right. Interesting. You say that Israel is unlikely to hit the Bushehr nuclear power plant, but considering, the possibility of contamination leak, the possibility of some kind of a Chernobyl-like disaster happening by striking at these nuclear facilities, do you think Israel and its ally, the United States of America, had factored in that there could have been a nuclear disaster on the scale of Chernobyl, or probably even worse, when the Israelis went ahead and bombed the nuclear facilities in Iran?
Yeah, I'm sure that is part of the conversation. And when the Israelis hit an emerging power plant in Syria, they did it at a time that was prior to the stage at which there would have been a major release. So there's no doubt in my mind that Israel is considering the possible release of toxins, of other kinds of dangers by hitting these plants. And that may be one reason why, at least for now, Bushehr is not on the target list. Clearly, the Israelis want to end this conflict with a sure end to Iran's enrichment package, its enrichment facilities. And as a consequence, I think this is a campaign that is going to continue until either there is an agreement by Iran to end its enrichment capacity, or an Israeli and perhaps an American follow-on strike that removes that enrichment capability by force.
But considering that they can't hit Bushehr, because this is something that's been made very clear by the IAEA, do you think resorting to a military option to stop Iran's nuclearization was a futile exercise to begin with? Because militarily this is not going to be accomplished. The only way forward is talks.
No, I don't think that it is a fool's errand, in the sense that the Bushehr plant is not producing the kinds of materials that Iran would use in a nuclear weapon. And as a consequence, Israel is really focusing on the centrifuges that can enrich uranium up to weapons grade. Is there ultimately a need for a political solution? Yes. But I think Israel has felt that it has been quite patient. I think President Trump felt that he tried hard to get a diplomatic deal. And as a consequence, military force is now being used as a tool in coercive diplomacy to try to remove, hopefully through diplomatic means, the threat of an Iranian bomb, and if necessary, through military means.
Right, we'll have to leave there. Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Charles Kupchan, for joining us with our perspective there.
Good to be with you.